It's officially combine time, and the Houston Texans GM, for one, didn't show up with a sweater vest on, but two, said a lot and also didn't say a lot. We got a lot to get to on the Locked On Texans Squad show.
Stan Norfleet here. Welcome to the Locked On Texans Squad Show. Nick Caserio, live from Indianapolis, the 2026 NFL Scouting Combine, told us what we can expect for the quarterback of the Houston Texans for the 26 season, but wouldn't comment beyond that. We'll unpack that here in just a second.
Down goes Mixon. Down goes Mixon. It seems like the Houston Texans are coming to the realization that Joe Mixon will not be a part of this roster. And also the center position, that money Tyler Linderbaum could potentially get may change a lot for this year's free agency for the Texans.
Yeehaw! It's time for the Texans Squad. Everything Houston Texans, every week. Bringing you the big hits, game-changing plays, and all the action straight from the Lone Star State. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Saddle up and squad up. It's the Texans Squad Show, starting now.
Welcome into the Locked On Texans Squad show. Michael Connor, Stan Norfleet, and John Hickman with you. We appreciate you joining. Whether you're watching live or listening later on, make sure that you always, of course, subscribe to the YouTube channel. And you get this podcast anywhere that you get your podcast for free, by the way. If you're seeing some issues out there when it comes to downloading these podcasts, don't fret. They're being worked on, and it is always going to be a free podcast to you. Guys, we have a lot to get into tonight on this very Locked On Texans Squad show, because the Combine is here this week. Guys will be out there at the Underwear Olympics doing their thing. The Houston Texans don't sound like they're going to be a team that's sticking around for the workout portion of it, but they're there for the early portions of it, which is, of course, getting to sit down one-on-one with prospects and do that thing and, of course, get measurements and whatnot when they do all of that. But Nick Caserio takes to the podium and the side media sessions today and had a lot to say. And, of course, the biggest thing, we'll hear from him here before you guys react, on C.J. Stroud and the Houston Texans' future with him at quarterback.
One of your players that's on the roster, and I think some people call this the silly season. There's lots of speculation, and then there recently was some about C.J. Stroud. How do you guys feel about C.J. as your quarterback, and do you call that unfounded when people speculate about a trade involving your QB1?
It's moronic. Like, we're not trading the guy. He's our quarterback. So he's going to be playing quarterback for the Houston Texans in 2026. So anything beyond that, I mean, again, like that's your world. You guys can speculate on that, but we're not trading C.J. Stroud.
Because of the uncertainty with Joe.
There you go, guys. Not trading C.J. Stroud. Will be the quarterback in 2026. Moronic. Is that the maddest we've heard Nick Caserio? If you consider that mad at all?
I think so. Moronic? I don't think, have we heard of moronic from Nick? But you know what? I'm usually against Nick Caserio, but I think in this case, I'm glad he came out and put that stamp on it. Like, hey, man, listen. I've heard the reports. I've seen the reports. I may have even talked to people around the league that I call close colleagues, and I just want to let everybody know it's BS. I love it even more because in many ways, Stan, do you feel like this could be him backing his quarterback for the umpteenth time? But I think it may be the biggest way possible to back him right now in the speculation season. But overall, this is a great, middle finger to us here in the media to say, stop with the BS, man. He ain't going nowhere. We got our guy.
Well, I do applaud that Nick Caserio, took to the podium and answered the questions and did so emphatically. Caserio, with his couple decades there in New England with Bill Belichick, he mastered the art of saying nothing and just using a whole bunch of words and trying to distract people without really committing to a side. I think this is the second time since the season ended, the 25 season ended for the Texans, that we've seen Nick Caserio be emphatic with his position. He told us why the Texans season ended the way that it did. He told us flat out, without saying CJ by name, you just can't turn the ball over like that. This defense was good enough. Clearly, Kaimi and the special teams unit was good enough. The quarterback let us down without saying CJ by name. And then we hear from him now, and he says, look, the quarterback will be back for 26. And then here's what I thought was most intriguing. So, I commend him for being emphatic and just being candid and what I believe to be forthright. And it's the right thing to do and say. But this is where things get a little different for me. If CJ Stroud's your franchise quarterback, why are you stopping at 2026?
26, yeah, that was very interesting.
Like when you put that
beyond, that's for you guys to speculate.
Coach. Beyond that is for you. It's a coach. Beyond that, Caserio, it's for you and the head coach of the Texans to tell us as the public who it is that's going to be your franchise quarterback. They aren't having that conversation in Chicago. They're not having that conversation in Washington. They're not having that conversation in Denver. Do I need to go on? Like, let's be careful here. Are they having that conversation in Carolina? I doubt it. Bryce has done and it's so interesting to hear the difference in Bryce giving CJ Stroud encouragement and advice in 2025 when it was the other way around in 2024. So, and certainly in 2023. So those were the two things that were interesting for me. Why non-committal moving forward about the organization's position when exercising the fifth-year option, something that you have to decide to do early May, I do believe. CJ's only going to make $32 million. That's the most he can make salary-wise over the next 2 seasons with the 25 salary and the 26 salary and 27 franchise tag or fifth-year option. So why not just commit to that? That part right there.
Caserio has always operates. I mean, like he takes every offseason and approaches it different. And I think that's just been his MO since coming here to Houston. Obviously, you point out something that I want for us to dive into a little bit more. Obviously, typically with quarterbacks, it's a lot differently. If you feel like that's your franchise quarterback, and franchise quarterbacks, for the most part, are around for 5 or so years after they sign their first contract deal, you kind of lay it all to rest the moment you can. Maybe for Caserio, he feels like he's done that before. Again, I think I commend him for coming out and saying, listen, it's moronic. This is our guy for right now. But, I mean, you make a good point. After 2026, what does the future look like for Houston? And I don't have the free agent quarterbacks up in front of me. Maybe they are keeping the eye out on certain situations. But at the very least for the right now, it's good to hear him say that. It also says to me, between now and after next season, if Stroud does follow up on the performance that he had this entire year, was a little underwhelming, underperforming certain games, you get to the playoffs and it's another blunder, another moment full of blunders, then after 2026, it's a different conversation. I also can look at it and say to myself, maybe Caserio feels like he needs to do more to put around his quarterback. So he's also evaluating himself right now in terms of, hey, let me do what I got to do to get him in the best position to succeed. I could be overlooking that as well. But after 26, typically with franchise quarterbacks, you want him to stay here, and the verbiage that you use screams, no, he's going to be here at home. Didn't get that from that clip.
How much of that is not wanting to hang yourself publicly to where you say something that then the agent can use in response to negotiations?
It's too late. He's already said it.
I'm saying, like, why would you go out there and say, yeah, we're going to give you an extension? Like, yeah, we're going to get.
You don't have to say that. You just don't give a time frame. All he had to do was say, CJ Stroud is a starting quarterback for the Houston Texans.
He did.
We have the ultimate belief that CJ Stroud, we will see the best versions of him year 2 under Nick Haley's offense. We feel like we can do better as a personnel department and as a coaching staff, putting more players around him and coaching those players up to be better, including CJ. But CJ Stroud is a starting quarterback for the Houston Texans. Don't say any time frame. Because now David Morgetta, when he hears this, at some point, Morgetta's going to pull up at the hotel over there in Indy somewhere. Nick, what you mean for 26?
I heard you.
You're playing around, Nick. Because now people that do what we do for a living and others are going to bring up 26. Now, he didn't say not beyond 26, but by referencing, when you're coming off a trade conversation and you give any timeline that doesn't line up with a contract extension, you open yourself up for more retort and more conversation about this.
I think it's a case of let's get through this year. Let me do my job. Let me build a roster around him. Let him go through his offseason process of getting better.
I get it.
And once we get to training camp, will we see growth from him there? I've talked about it. Like, I didn't think he was commanding last year's training camp. Will he come out as more of a leader? You know, how will he handle adversity this upcoming year? When everything else around him, this is why I believe this is a make or break year, and Houston should go all in this offseason. When everything around him is much better than the year prior, let's see how CJ Stroud performs then. And if it still looks the same, if the numbers are identical and the performances resemble the same thing from the 2025 year, then from there, once we get to the end of 2026, maybe the conversation is different. But I also think this is a perfect opportunity for Caserio to do that, to improve this roster. So whenever Houston has to make a decision, they've exhausted all of their resources to make sure the roster is up to par.
I don't understand the response. And listen, when you speak publicly, like Nick Caserio does, like the three of us do and have done for many years, we're blessed to be able to do so, as is Nick Caserio. But the bottom line is, in 90 days, give or take, you've got to make a decision if CJ Stroud is going to be with you for 2027. We're not going to act like that you don't have to make that decision before 2027. Because if you don't exercise that fifth-year option, you then open yourself up to have more people like us ask you, why didn't you believe in your quarterback enough between now and May, whenever the end of May, whenever that decision must be made? The fifth-year option piece is what makes this awkward. He didn't have to make it awkward. All he had said to do is, listen, we've got more than enough time to evaluate CJ Stroud. Let me count the ways. He's under contract at guaranteed money for his fourth year. We have the right to exercise his fifth-year option. After that, we have the right to franchise him up to 3 times. We don't see a world right now, we're going into 2026 season, where CJ Stroud isn't a part of our plans. But you can't ignore that, like, we as the public and those that comment on this stuff don't know that you have to make a decision about 27 in the next 90 days, give or take.
There are a total of 6 quarterbacks that have not had their fifth-year option picked up in the past. Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Justin Fields, Mac Jones, Daniel Jones, Mitchell Trubisky. I think that list
is clearly better than all of them.
Yeah, they're going to pick up. They're picking up that extension. We all know that. There's no way.
So then what is the hubbub? Now I get it. Nick would say, Stan, I didn't say I wasn't going to pick up the 27. But then you told us, Caserio, you said as far beyond 26, that's for guys like us to speculate. So I'm just trying to do my job, Caserio, like you're doing your job, but I thought it was poorly worded, that piece. But I do think it was the right thing to do. It was the right thing to do right now in terms of commit to CJ Stroud. I was not a proponent of moving off CJ. I thought fans, quite frankly, in the aftermath of that game in New England, I thought fans, bless you, John, I thought fans were too skewed in their perspective and opinions, trying to get rid of CJ, and somehow he's hit his ceiling and you can't win a bleak ton of games. All CJ Stroud has done is win more games than any other quarterback that has put on this Texans uniform in a 3-year span, or at least the first 3 years of their career, including Deshaun Watson. So, like, I never fully appreciated or embraced the notion of moving on from CJ unless somebody gave you a Godfather offer, and if they believed that between Caserio and Nick Caley, they could buffer all the pieces around, maybe if it wasn't going to be a Davis Mills, a Kyler Murray, or some of the sort like that.
It's going to be interesting to see if this is a topic that continues to live with legs on it, or if it, actually dies off, since he at least said, hey, he's the quarterback this year.
May is approaching.
There was the question of extension talk. We'll hear from Nick Caserio again here in a moment, what he had to say about extensions for CJ and his draft. I guess, what would you call it? His draft brother? I don't know what word I'm looking for here. I've been in bed sick for 2 days, so I'm forgetting words.
You're
now,
right.
the English language is getting away from me. We'll talk about that here in the brief second on the Locked On Texans Squad show. As the new year gets going, a lot of people are trying to simplify their routines, and dinner is a big one. Between busy work days, cold winter nights, and packed schedules, having an easy, reliable dinner plan makes a huge difference. That's where Home Chef comes in. Home Chef takes the stress out of cooking, delivering fresh, pre-portioned ingredients right to your door with easy-to-follow recipes that actually taste great. They're the number one rated by users of other meal kits for quality, convenience, value, taste, and recipe ease. And it's easy to see why. Over 30 weekly options, including family-sized meals and different dietary choices. Recipes are simple but feel elevated, even restaurant quality, with dishes co-created by chefs like Gordon Ramsay. For a limited time, Home Chef is offering my listeners 50% off your first box, free shipping, and free dessert for life. Just go to homechef.com/lockedon. That's homechef.com/lockedon for 50% off your first box, free shipping, and free dessert for life. Must be an active subscriber to receive free dessert. Guys, I think I'm going to be a Home Chef guy here pretty soon. You get me free dessert, I'm signed up. Let's go. I'd go for some dessert. I'd go for some dessert of the Texans doing something that's important. How about that? Michael Connor, Stan Norfleet, and John Hickman here with you on the Locked on Texans Squad show. All right, so the CJ Stroud topic, we'll continue a little bit of that here. It's going to be let's be honest. There's going to be some sort of CJ component to everything that we're talking about this offseason. We all know.
From now until Christmas.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about CJ Stroud every show.
Yeah, he was recently, his foundation was acknowledged, and he talked about his struggles and how he's happy to be in Houston and how Houston has welcomed him with open arms. I think in many ways he's on somewhat of a PR redemption as well for himself. So I'm excited to see CJ Stroud without the locks, see what he's going to do next year.
Yeah, he's going to have a different look and may or may not have a contract extension. Nick Caserio was asked about contract extensions for CJ Stroud and Will Anderson, and this is what he had to say.
Who wants to fire the first question away there? Go ahead.
Now, this offseason, of course, you've got Will Anderson Jr., CJ Stroud, and potential contract extensions there. How are you kind of looking to handle that situation or looking at that situation?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't typically talked publicly about contracts in anybody's particular situation. I would say those two players are really good players. They've helped our program win a number of football games. So we'll kind of take it one day at a time and just try to piece the team together and, try to do ultimately what we feel makes the most sense for our team and the organization. So no timetable on anything, but, we'll kind of handle business as business is being done.
Nick, with you guys kind of double dipping.
There it is, Nick Caserio on the contract extensions. Do you believe a word? Is that a classic Nick Caserio? I'm saying nothing. Answer.
Word salad.
Yeah.
So he's not giving out extension. I'm kidding. Is he giving out the extension to both? How about that?
What he said is there's no timetable on the decision. That's not true. Sometime in May, you have to make a decision on the quarterback if you're going to give him the fifth-year option.
Stan, can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
How often Caserio he got here in 21. How often have we heard or seen Caserio say things like, it'll handle itself out, or, when we get to it, we'll get to it, or like, I think listening to Caserio talk for as long as I have, when he says things like it's no timetable, I think that's just him saying we have until now, until the deadline, and we're going to figure it out. Conversations have already been started. I think they have a hierarchy or priority of which player they want to get done first. I could speculate Will Anderson. I'm not on the know on that one, but when he says things like it's not a timetable, I think that's just for us, him alerting us, we're going to get it taken care of in due time. Don't worry about it.
Well, maybe. And it could be some of that, posturing with David Morgetta, CJ Stroud's agent, not letting him know or not giving him the full confidence that a deal is going to be imminent. And we'll see, right? That's one of the beautiful things about, that's why everybody goes to Indianapolis to the combine. There's NFL business taking place and conversations, real conversations happening in hotel lobbies, in restaurants, in meeting rooms, and all those things, in hotel suites. Big boy business getting done. So perhaps this is a little bit of posturing and gamesmanship by the general manager, but you just committed to him for 26. You didn't say anything about 27. Then you double down on that and say, no timetable for when that decision. Well, it is. To me, I think the Texans had better be honest to themselves. Right. And I'm sure, obviously, D'Amico and Nick Caserio, where are we at on CJ? Not do you like, and that's the hardest part about business. Sometimes I've worked with people that I really like that were not proficient in their professional responsibilities. And then there were some people I couldn't stand, but they're damn good at their jobs. So trying to just sort through, like, this is the first time D'Amico and Nick Caserio together are faced with this conversation. And by the way, D'Amico Ryans is going to leave, as will Nick Caserio. They're going to leave the combine after the in-person interviews with players over the next day or so, or by week's end. I think it's happening on Friday. But this is the first time they've got to ask themselves, at the most difficult position, it's one thing to want to believe. It's another thing to say you believe. Then it's a whole nother thing to prove you believe that this is your franchise quarterback. And in about 90 days, we're going to find out.
What makes this conversation even difficult, I think, is you have the other player on the other side. You got Will Anderson on the other side, too. So, again, I go back to the speculation of who's most important to the Texans right now.
That's not even a question.
It may not be, because the quarterback position is always valued.
That's it. There you go.
The quarterback position is always valued at a higher rate, and I can understand that. But at a point, for Houston, when it comes to picking up the 50th option, I think it's easy to say CJ Stroud. But when it comes to that extension, that's a hard conversation, as you mentioned, simply because through the first 3 years, who's been the staple? Through the first 3 years, who have you been able to count on? Through the first 3 years, who's the actual face of the franchise? Like, I think
the face of the franchise is quarterback.
I don't think that's the case right now. I don't.
MC, break the tie. Who's the face of the franchise?
No. Okay. Right now, who's the face of the franchise?
I still think it's CJ.
No question.
I think after this past season, all-pro honors, what he did all year, what he did in the playoffs with Anderson, there's no way we can come out of this season and say to ourselves.
Either of them are like that bold face of the franchise, though. You know what I mean? Like, J.J. Watt was like a bona fide. That when I think of like face of the franchise, neither of them are out there.
Superstar.
You know what I mean?
That's superstar, right?
Do we? And to get back to my point, but do we think Will Anderson is on that trajectory? Obviously,
No.
JJ won in defensive MVP in his second year, so it's a little different. But I think the situation is somewhat the same. One of those years, Matt Shaw threw for 4,700 yards, but JJ was still the face of the franchise.
Because he's a superstar.
And he is. And I think Will Anderson is close to that, in my opinion. But again, back to the extension conversation. It gets to a place where, Will, do we feel like he needs to prove more to us? With CJ, do we feel like he needs to prove more to us? And that's where I think the tiebreaker on who's going to get the extension first comes in at. We go back to, for right now, through 2026, he's going to be our quarterback. I mean, that's somewhat of a hit on maybe we have another year to figure this thing out. With Will, it feels like he's done everything and more, as Houston traded up for him, to be the bona fide stud, to be the bona fide star, to be the guy that gets the extension first.
Are we also possibly going to get to a point where, let's say, like we all expect, Will's going to get his this offseason, and let's say CJ doesn't? How much of an element of the cap situation of now is also part of this that people might not want to acknowledge because they are in a cap situation that's kind of sticky?
Well, they can free up the space. They've got enough contracts out there. Stingley, Petrie, Daniil Hunter, like that. They Nico, They got people making money. Now, don't forget, and we'll talk about it later, they're getting ready to address the running back room, which will free up some money, and we'll see what they want to do with that roughly $8.5 million if they indeed release Joe Mixon. But right now, this is about timing. So much of the NFL agents will tell you this, general managers, scouts, people in the building will tell you this, players. This is about timing. And when you got potentially Max Crosby, a superstar that is on the move from the Raiders, when you talk, him wanting the deal, Michael Parsons, a superstar, just got a massive deal from the Green Bay Packers. Myles Garrett, he's going to want some more money, and I don't know where he is contractually.
He just got a deal.
He just got his deal. Okay, so you got him there. And I'm just going around the league. You're going to want to lock up Will before that pass rusher market takes the next step. And the longer you wait on that, because those pass rushers are getting real money.
Do we think he's going to be the one?
4 guys right now averaging over. Yeah, because 4 guys right now average over $40 million a year. The highest is Parsons at 46.5. It goes Parsons 46.5, Hutchinson 45, Watt 41, and Myles Garrett at 45. Next up is Danielle Hunter at 35.6.
So I think Watt wants more money.
He just signed his too, I believe.
Did he? Okay, because I know they were all right there together. So you're right. Yeah. Okay, that's right. And that was like recently.
24.
That was like within the last year.
All those guys signed their deals before last season.
Yeah, so that's right. All right. So the market is up. Now, I can't think of anybody that is on Will's level that is hovering around that might impact that number. But the bottom line is this. Like, the Texans could play hardball with Will. But then do you really want to, do you want a PO Will Anderson Jr.? When you've said Will is one of the rocks that we're going to build this organization on. So it sets a bad precedent. So, like, to be fair, and I'm going to call a spade, of all the young players that the Texans have brought through the program in the DeMeco Ryans era, hell, I'll even throw in Nico Collins in the Caserio era. Who has been drafted and played better than Will Anderson Jr.?
Oh, it's only him and Sting.
And Stingley's first year wasn't unbelievable, right?
Correct.
He dealt with injuries his second year.
For sure.
The first half of the year, he dealt with some injuries, but he turned it up, and then from so on and so forth, pro back-to-back years. I think 15 interceptions in 3 to 4 years.
So like this is the first year. This is the first year as all pro. He's been a Pro Bowl back-to-back.
He was all pro last year.
Was he all pro last year?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He was all pro last year.
Was it? All right, I don't remember him being all pro last year.
He back-to-back. I think in his first 4 years, maybe in the last 3, he's sitting at 14 interceptions.
Yeah, 2 years.
Oh, you're talking about Sting. I'm not talking about Sting. I'm sorry. I was still on Will Anderson. I'm sorry. Okay, no. All right, so here's the deal. The precedent has already been set. You paid Petrie. You paid Sting. You keep giving Danielle Hunter money, deservingly so. For what he is, Azeez Al-Shire, who I like a lot, is being handsomely compensated. You paid everybody over there, especially on that side of the ball, so I can't get mine. Like, Will Anderson knows now's his time. He's going to get his bread. And it played out perfect for Caserio, because the worst scenario for Nick Caserio would be if CJ was playing at 2023 level and Will was playing at 2025 level. Then you got to try and find a way to make both of them work. But they'll be able to stagger them and get it done.
What's the market right now for the top guy?
For the quarterback?
46.5.
For the edge.
Oh.
46.5.
I could very well see Caserio getting Will to a 48 number on a 3-year deal.
All those guys signed 4 or 5 year deals too. That signed.
I could very
outside of
well
Danielle Hunter.
see
Danielle Hunter signed a 1 year.
He got the 1 year extension after 2 years.
Caserio's going to want to shorten that deal
and get the maximum dollars out of it.
And then they're going to give Will a little bit more per year to agree to a shorter deal.
And that's another reason why I think it'd be best for them to lock in Will, because of that component of Will can get the 3-year deal. I don't see a quarterback getting a 3-year deal in the NFL. I just don't. So I think it's easier to go ahead and lock that in now. Stingley reset the market with his deal, and that was a 3-year deal. I think Jalen Petrie reset the nickel market, right?
Yeah, he's the highest nickel at the time, I believe.
That's a 3-year deal. we can talk about Nick Caserio not being able to put together an offensive line, but when you talk about putting these contracts together where it's both team and player friendly, I mean, he excels at that. And so if 46.5 is the number for Micah right now, or is it Myles Garrett?
It's Micah Parsons, 46.5.
46.5. I can see it being 48 for Will. I can see the money keep going up. He may touch 50 on a 3-year deal.
There's not really any competition out there this year to help him out in terms of
you got one. You got one. Trey Hendrickson. Trey Hendrickson.
He got franchise tax, so he's looking for a home.
He's older and he's coming off injury. So I don't know where he's going to come in at, but he's another baller. This played out very well for Nick Caserio and the Houston Texans. Yeah. They're going to lock up Will, and Will deserves it, and I'll be fine.
Yeah, it's going to be a good year to be a member of the Anderson family. That's for sure. He's going to be very, very, very rich. He's already rich.
What is it? Is it 3 sisters? Is it 3 sisters, or is it 3 or 4 sisters?
3 or 4. There's multiple.
3 or 4. You got me as a cousin. I don't think y'all.
Yeah, me too.
So I'll be over there.
You don't see the resemblance here? Come on now. We've got the running back position to talk about. We're going to talk about it here in a brief second on the Locked On Texans Squad show. All right, before we get there, have you ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. You use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for 2. That's right, flights, tickets, the whole experience. If you're already looking at the board and thinking about how, which team can make a deep run, it's the perfect time to lock it in. Now, you not only get to pick your cash, but you also get to send it to the NBA Finals. Who doesn't want to go to the Finals? Maybe the Rockets will go to the Finals for you too. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost for an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Squad show, Michael Connor, Stan Norfleet, and John Hickman. Nick Caserio rules the day. I would assume we're going to hear from D'Amico as well. Coaches speak when? Today?
I'm not sure. I hadn't seen the schedule.
He was not on the schedule last time I checked.
Yeah, John gets the schedules. John's important here.
Credential media member.
Yes. We're all important, guys.
I don't get credentials anymore, but that's okay.
That's what my mother said.
Yeah, they do. Something important today was, the Joe Mixon saga. It's mind-numbing a bit. Here's the tweet from Aaron Wilson. Texans are expected to explore high-end free agent running back market per NFL sources. Nick Caserio discloses Joe Mixon offseason surgery. Texans are expected to ultimately part ways with Mixon per league sources and release him from his 3-year, $27 million contract. First of all, I think he had surgery and didn't really have any answers for it just a few weeks ago. I mean, what a mess this whole thing has been. I think they've not done anything publicly. I just get the sense that they are so utterly disappointed in whatever happened to him and whatever he was doing to do it, that they just are disgusted.
You mean the injury that was not a freak injury? He wasn't snowboarding By the way,
jumping off of a motorcycle, being James Bond or something.
D'Amico Ryans is not slated to talk according to the NFL Combine list, so he may just be there on straight business. It's the right move. I mean, if you listen to the tone in Caserio's voice, and maybe somewhat giddiness or lack thereof, when he talks about Tank Dell in comparison to when he talks about Joe Mixon, it's 2 different tones. It's 2 different feels. When he talk about Tank Dell, he actually came out and said, towards the end of the year, we were trying to see if we can get him back, but it just didn't work out. He's been around. He's a good kid. We've seen him around the facilities. He's working out. You hear those things. What does it sound like? It sounds like they know what's going on with Tank, and Tank knows how they view Tank, right? And so there's a great working relationship there. When it comes to Joe Mixon, he hasn't been around. They use words like hopeful. We'll see.
Maybe.
Maybe. We're exploring. Like when you hear Caserio talk about Joe Mixon, it sounds like just pure disappointment that he didn't keep the Texans in the know. This is a great franchise and organization. Guys, they do a great job of making sure that players' information stays in-house. But in the year that they had, I kind of wonder, were the rumors true? Y'all know the rumors. I'm not going to say them, but y'all know the rumors. Were those rumors true to the point where for Houston, they're just like, man, we got to move off of this guy. What the hell was he doing?
Well,
why can't he come around our facilities? My bad, Stan.
I think if the rumor were true about some things you can look up on your own time.
I heard he was hunting for stingrays in Australia.
If the rumors were true, then that would be conduct detrimental to the team, and they could recoup some of that $8 to $10 million that Joe was paid this past season.
That's not the franchise, though, right?
I think. Say that again.
That's not how the makeup of this franchise is, especially for players who, in many ways, are leaders in the locker room and are viewed highly by their teammates. That's not how they do things in this era of Texas football.
I didn't say they would. I said they could legally, from a CBA standpoint, they could go back and get not only the $8.5 million they would save by releasing Joe Mixon this year as a post June 1st cut is what I believe that would be. No one's trading for Joe Mixon at this point with this mysterious foot injury. But then I have a couple other thoughts. Hey guys, Caserio said, what did he say? He says, I think. And I don't have the exact quote. He says, I think
he had surgery.
He had surgery. I'm sorry? You paid this man approximately $9 million this year, and you're not certain as the general manager, the head coach, hell, the ownership group. Callan Hanna doesn't know if for certain a Pro Bowl running back had surgery or not?
This is what he said. I talked to Joe. Honestly, it's day to day. I think he has surgery this offseason. We'll see what the prognosis is for the season and try to figure out what ultimately makes sense. He's done.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't even matter if the GM. I mean, we all know he knows. Come on now, he knows. He knows. He's not coming back here. He never was coming back here. So that's why he's going to play it off like that in public.
And that's why it bothers me how they went about. I'm sorry, Stan, but how they went about addressing the running back room last year.
Thank you. From the word go.
From the get go, when not only with the J.K. Dobbins rolling with Nick Chubb over J.K. Dobbins. Now, granted, J.K. ended up getting hurt, but before that injury, I think J.K. rushed for nearly 800 yards. But also at the trade deadline, right?
There you go.
Why were there no movement to get a player, an upgrade in that room, especially when you consider around that time they dialed it back a lot for Nick Chubb. And so it's confusing. I think in a lot of ways it's frustrating because it was the issue was not properly assessed. And in the end, the running back issue, the center issue, the left guard issue, what did we see in the playoffs the last time we saw the Texans play ball?
Listen, wide receiver 2 issue.
Yeah, people call me crazy that I believe they need to upgrade in that room, but that's just me.
Oh, yeah. We talked about it on a previous show. There's only really one room, maybe 2, if you consider edge their own room. Other than the edge and the quarterback, you're not upgrading. It's just not happening. Yeah. No, a third corner is still on the table. Absolutely, I would love to see them add a third corner.
They do have Jalen Reed. Keep Jalen Reed in mind, but he dealt with injuries a lot. Didn't put a lot out on tape. He had that one game, I think it was Buffalo, but I agree with you there. Another safety.
They could upgrade in every room except QB and edge between Hunter and Will, respectively. So I come back to this. It's not just the running back room. Caserio, you knew good and bleeping well. You had the Iowa State trio, and Nico's going to miss games to injury. You knew Christian Kirk was going to miss games. You knew Dalton Schultz had to gut it out all of last year. Y'all told us that. You went and threw some stuff against the wall on that offensive line to see what would stick. When you went and chose for D'Amico, a new first-time play caller, and a quarterback going into a new system and trying to shake off whatever that was the last half season of Bobby Sloyd. What would have solidified and given CJ some confidence and given this team even more confidence when you're handing the ball off to a real dude? And if you don't have a real dude in Joe Mixon, there were some other dudes out there. Now look at where the Texans find themselves. Javonte Williams is off the board. It looks
Brees
like
Hall
he's going to
get
stay.
tagged.
It looked like Brees Hall is going.
That's my
Go
next
ahead.
question. So you say all this, and I pull the tweet back up there. It says in this specific tweet, the high-end free agent running back market. What the hell is the high-end market at this point?
So you only got two names remaining. It's Kenneth Walker III and it's Travis Etienne.
Yeah.
Those are the only two left.
And I think D'Amico Ryans would love Kenneth Walker. I'm not saying he should be the guy. If we're ranking running backs, I mean, I have Brees Hall at number one, clear cut above everybody. And then from there, you start to look at the tier 2, tier 3 running backs that are available this year. Again, they could possibly go after a Josh Jacobs if he's a cap casualty. Another name that's out there, Houston tried to swing for him the same year in 2024. They got Joe Mixon. Remember, Houston was linked to DeAndre Swift for a while before they pivoted.
I remember that.
To Joe Mixon. He could possibly be a cap casualty this year. So I think they're going to look and see how teams view their own players and if they decide to move off of some of these guys. But right now, outright free agents, it's Kenneth Walker, it's Travis Etienne, and it's everyone else. I mean, Rico Dowdle is available.
Dowdle's a name. Yeah.
Atlanta is a name to keep an eye on. And this is something I've been wanting to ask you guys for a while. Do you think that the Houston Texans, and this is for both of y'all, do you guys think that the Houston Texans view Woody Marks in such a high regard that maybe for them it's not necessarily about Kenneth Walker? Maybe it's about pairing Woody Marks with somebody, or like Aaron Wilson tweeted, where they kind of view the league and see how what happens with Jacobs or Walker and go after one of those guys.
No, I don't want to pair Woody.
If you're playing in the big fish market, it's obvious to me that Woody Marks is your number 2. That's just me.
Okay.
Yeah, I do not have confidence, and I said it as such. Woody Marks is not designed to be an every down back, not the way that this offense is designed to use the running back. This is a staple running back type. The system under Bobby Slowick, that outside zone, that's when you can put multiple running backs in there. You rotate them, you get on the track as an offensive line, and you go. You put a foot in the ground, and you get north and south right now. This offense is predicated on patience, pass blocking, which Woody Marks proved he could do. But there's also about you got to tote that rock with regularity because you want to keep the chains moving, stay ahead of the chains, and don't put your quarterback at a disadvantaged position. And certainly, a la Woody Marks turning the ball over in the playoff game in the division around at New England, young guys just turn the ball over. I told y'all that at the start of the year. I get concerned about young running backs in certain moments, weather changes, Thanksgiving football and beyond, things can get a bit dicey. But then let's also look at the other options. Okay, you go in the draft. You got one running back with a first-round grade. The Love kid out of Notre Dame. He's the only one that you would, and now I've seen just one or two mock drafts that had him falling down into the late teens. If he gets down in the late teens, there's a Julian Love. You get down in the late teens. Jeremiah Love, thank you. You got to go up there. You go get your guy. People think he has Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan Robinson type of ability. So if that's the type of guy you got to go do that. But anybody other than those two, you're talking about a guy in the second round. And second round running back, can still be productive. But I'm talking about a young guy. I don't want two young guys in the backfield like that. Look at what the Lions did when they got Jahmyr Gibbs in the first round. They had David Montgomery, or was Swift there at the time? I forget. But they still had a veteran there. Yeah, you got to continue to have a veteran there. You can't just have two young guys back there.
I'm not mad at that. And there's some young backs in this year's draft class that I like. Price, the second running back out of Notre Dame, he was nice. The two running backs out of Penn State, they ran the ball very good. I feel like Kenneth Walker is a D'Amico Ryans guy. And I think for D'Amico, who has really, especially last year, being more, observing on the offensive side of the ball, I think he is in search of a guy that is in many ways his Will Anderson, his Jalen Petrie.
He had it. It was Joe Mixon. He had it.
Well, that freak accident happened with
He
that
had
foot,
it.
and we don't
God
know what's going to
almighty.
happen. So he's going to look to replace what he lost. And I think for Houston, they lost Diggs. They tried to replace him with Kirk. That ain't work out. They lost Joe Mixon, and they had to go with a combination between Nick Chubb and the rookie Woody Marks. I think moving forward, they're going to get to a place where they're going to replace the players that made their offense go in 2024. Running back is one of them. Kenneth Walker could be a name to keep the eye on.
Kenneth Walker just had his second 1,000-yard season, and he really shined when Charbonnet had to leave because of the season-ending knee injury. Kenneth Walker ranked inside the top 12 in missed tackle rate force each season since entering the league in 2022. So you're talking about not letting the first defender get you on the ground. You're talking about yards after contact. Clearly, he has the ability to catch the football. I think Kenneth Walker at the right price could be really, really not ideal, but it could be good enough alongside of Woody Marks.
I'll ask you a question just about that here in just a second on the Locked On Texans Squad show. Final segment of Locked On Texans Squad show. Michael Connor, Stan Norfleet, and John Hickman. So we're talking the running back position there. We might not even get to everything in Nick Caserio that was out there today on this show, but good news, we've got all week to do it, and we're going to do it again later this week. So we'll get to maybe some of that offensive line talk before the end of the week, because that's I think that's one of those subjects that we like to get going on like we did last offseason, and it'll take a minute. But on Kenneth Walker specifically, there are 9 running backs that average $10 million or more per season. The highest paid in terms of average is Saquon Barkley at 20.6, but we all know he's not getting there. There's Christian McCaffrey at 19, Derrick Henry at 15, Jonathan Taylor at 14, Alvin Kamara at 12.2, Josh Jacobs at 12, James Cook at 11.5, Kyron Williams at 11, and then Aaron Jones at 10. Where are you comfortable on Kenneth Walker? In those kind of, where is he in that range? Because I would imagine
Javonte Williams just got $8 million as his new AAV.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I can see Kenneth Walker coming off a Super Bowl win, coming off Super Bowl MVP. I can see him getting to 10 with a team, but anything
10 probably be my ceiling.
Yeah, between 10, maybe 11 because of the MVP honors. Anything outside of 11, and by no means am I counting the man's pocket, but anything outside of 11, I think is a reach.
10 is the ceiling for me. I don't think he's in the same class, nor has his body of work been anywhere close to any of those backs that you named before, we got to that $10 million threshold. So for me, I'm drawing a line in the sand. Hell, if Javonte got 8, Caserio's got to be talking about 8. Okay, we'll bump you maybe to 9 because you're Super Bowl MVP. But like at the end of the day, the running back position is what it is. It is important. We've now seen that. At the same time, you also got to look at, hey, man, you haven't really made any money. This is not a guy like a Bijan Robinson that's a top 10 pick. This is a guy that was what, a mid-round pick, a third-round pick? When did Kenneth Walker get drafted?
Second round.
Second round. So from an NFL standard, he has not made any money yet. So I get it. He's going to want to cash in. But you know what's better than winning 1 Super Bowl? Winning 2. So he's going to want to go somewhere if it's not staying in Seattle. And I think Seattle should retain him. And they're probably going to give him a premium to retain him, or they're going to tag him and, let the contract scenario play out. But with Charbonnet likely not being ready to the midway point in next season, you want to keep some chemistry and some continuity there. You want to keep somebody that knows your system. And what Kubiak implemented there, we know he's not gone, but they're still going to run some aspects of that system. So would I overpay if I'm Nick Caserio for Kenneth Walker? No. And they've got to determine what overpay means. But if it's me, I'm comfortable in that 9 range, but 10, I can't do anything above a 10. That's a definitive no for me.
And here's another thing about that.
I was going to say, what if tomorrow we hear he's signing a deal with the Texans for $12 million a year? How you gonna feel?
Then I'm gonna ask Caserio, what the hell are you doing?
Okay.
Because what he presents, I mean, from a running back perspective, can Rico Dowell do the same thing behind a better offensive line? Can Tyler Algier, who has rushed the ball At 4.5 yards per pop, I think twice in his career. I think he has a 1,000-yard running back season under his belt as well before Bijan got there. And who's been relatively fresh the last couple of years because of Bijan's arrival. Can he bring the same element to offense with an improved offensive line in front of him? So, like when I look at Kenneth Walker, Saquon, CMC, those guys can do it all. Derrick Henry, I mean, he's probably going to be one of the first ballot Hall of Famers in the last 10 years that we've seen play football outside of Adrian Peterson. Like, he's a lock to make a Hall of Famer.
No question.
Is he that type of runner? I don't think he is.
No.
And so now you start
certainly,
to look at.
I was just going to say he's certainly not the receiver of a Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara in his prime. He's not that guy where you're getting a dual threat ability.
He's not. Also, you look at Seattle; they didn't really trust him out there on short yardage situations. That's where you saw Zach Charbonnet get his money right this past year and the last 2 years. And so, I think Walker's numbers on third and short are around 2.1 yards per carry. Not a lot of first downs, but then they sub him out a lot. So, what he offers as a running back, I mean, he played amazing in the playoffs. Again, when they went up against the Rams, a better defensive front, go check the numbers out. Go check the numbers out. I mean, it wasn't eye-popping. So I think other running backs that could be available or become available can do what he does, or maybe even more if Houston can get their hands on a Josh Jacobs if he becomes available, or DeAndre Swift if he becomes available as well, who rushed for 1,200 last year, by the way, and 4.9 yards per pop. Did y'all know about that? Did y'all know that for Swift?
Did not know that. I saw him have some moments. For me, it's about juice on this offense. And the most explosive player, having not done the homework at the specific numbers, the most explosive player at the position that's remaining is Travis Etienne.
We don't talk about him a lot either. I just wanted to say one thing real quick, because you mentioned Josh Jacobs. The Packers GM, Gutekunst, today said that Jacobs will be back for his last year of his contract. So there's that.
So scratch him. Travis Etienne has a very unique ability, and when put properly in a healthy situation, especially when you can make a division opponent weaker by pulling him off that roster in Jacksonville and putting him on yours, I think Travis Etienne inside of NRG on that carpet, because what we also must understand, you can't just put any running back in there. All running backs run the same essentially when there is no hole. So you got to look at who's a guy that has enough juice, those aliens, those athletic freaks that we talk about, who's got enough in their bag, and Travis Etienne is one of those type of guys. Oh, I'm going to go right. Oh, there's some leak. I'm going to cut this thing back. Or, oh, nothing's downfield. CJ Stroud has to check it down. I'm going to make a guy miss, and now we're up the sideline. He's done it to the Texans. Travis Etienne has home run ability. And in this offense, that's going to be dink and dunk. You need as many guys that can give you some juice. And it looks like there was one guy that I've been standing for, pun intended. Kyle Pitts Sr. looks like he's going to be tagged down in Atlanta from the reports that I'm hearing down that way. Or
I think they've officially announced that he's getting the tag, I believe.
Yeah. So Kyle Pitts Sr. is now off the market, which would have been fun to see a player like that in this offense.
Tyler Linderbaum is also going to be, he's going to be out the way. The reports were that he's going to be north of $20 million per year, which I think would absolutely put Houston. That'll put Houston out of market for them. I don't think they could go and afford that 20.
So let's look. Let's circle this back. And it's a few people in there. I saw somebody up here that was about to piss me off. Who was it? Somebody in the comment section. I can't find it now. But somebody made reference to they think I've been happy since the game ended in New England, and that's just not the case. The bottom line is this: we need to look at how the pieces fit together. Do I trust Nick Caserio to go get another number 2 opposite of Nico and allow Higgins and Noel to grow another year? We'll see. The tight end market, I think the only other one that's really out there that would excite me, I think, is probably David Njoku. who I think still has plenty of tread left on the tire. So when you start looking at the makeup of this offense, if they're unable to get Kenneth Walker, and if they're unable to go up and get the kid that everybody wants, the first round kid, Love out of Notre Dame at the running back spot, if you don't land those two, like, how dire is the running back position? I think it's really dire. But I'm just saying, like, this is where Joe Mixon getting hurt, and I get it was freakish, but this would be this will give ammunition to some of the people that want to push back and go, your whole offense crumbled because you couldn't hand Joe the ball. So then it makes me start thinking, who else is out there? Who could they trade for that would give you some Joe Mixon type of juice that somebody would be willing to let go? Christian McCaffrey recently got traded. You know, going to San Francisco a few years ago. We've seen Saquon Barkley be available on the open market. We saw Josh Jacobs on the open market. Derrick Henry has been on the open market. So let's just not act like it's not impossible to trade if you can't sign for guys of that caliber. Who's out there?
Who's available?
Who's a guy out there that they could offer something for that could come in and give this offense a legitimate, proven veteran?
Kyron Williams. He's already under contract at $10 million. Is it MC?
Yeah,
he's in that range. Yeah,
he's in that range. Knows the system. I think in many ways had a down year. But the thing about Kyron Williams, you bring him over, you're absolutely going to be looking for. You're going to look at more snaps for Woody Marks. Kyron Williams, I think, is a year or two removed from the 1,200-yard year that he had. Still a good runner. I think the Rams offensive line, from a run game perspective, had a down year, but Kyron is a name if you want to look at tradable pieces. Alvin Kamara has pretty much came out and said it's New Orleans and nobody else.
Yeah, I think I'd rather have ETN and Kyron Williams in terms of for the money. I think I could get ETN for a little bit less. And I think I'm getting player with a little bit more upside than now. Kyron has run the ball better, but everybody.
Kyron Williams was 1,200-yard runner, 1,200 yards last year with 10 touchdowns, 4.8 per carry.
And you can do that in a Sean McVay offense when you got Matthew Stafford there, Puka Nacua over there, Devontae Adams over there. You can open up some things. I'm not saying he's not a baller. Don't mistake what I'm saying. I'm just saying, for giving up trade assets and having to pay that money, I'd rather just pay the money to Travis Etienne. I don't think the separation is that clear. We know what a dumpster fire is, mostly being in Jacksonville there. I can't think of a guy. You're not getting Bijan Robinson. I'm trying to go around the league. Where is Achane? A guy like Achane might be. Miami's a disaster. Can we throw something down there? They're going to reboot. Can I throw something down there and get Achane from Miami, bring him back to the state of Texas? Former A&M product.
That's a good
and I'm just
question,
making. I'm just bringing that out somewhere.
Because I look at Achane and I look at Waddle, very similar. What's going on in Miami? Do they want to go 100% reboot, or do they feel like after one season they may be able to pull some things together? Because they had moved on from Waddle, also a Houston product.
Well, they went fire sale on defense. They got Witter Bradley Chubb. The rumors are Minkah Fitzpatrick could be on the outs.
Yeah. Then they got some.
They traded Jalen Phillips, the DN, the former first rounder out of Miami. Traded him.
The problem with Achane, I'll bring up the Achane one, going into the final year of his rookie deal, coming off the best season of his career. He's going some serious money.
He's got juice. I like guys that's got some juice. And he's been down there with McDaniels in an offense that maybe has some traits to what's going on here in Houston. If you're into, McDaniels, the Shanahan, Sean McVay. So we'll see if the schemes are comparable there. Just a thought. If they don't like what's in the draft, and if the Texans can't get the guys that they like in free agency, will we see them pony up and make a deal to trade for somebody? Just something we hadn't discussed the whole time.
That we're all going to be surprised if they don't have an addition to the running back room at some point this offseason. That's for sure. Well, guys, that is we're running out of time here. We'll be back on this show again on Thursday, but you guys want to go ahead and give your parting shots to the people.
Yeah, we'll let her bring this back up too. Do you guys feel like maybe, the amount of youth that we're talking about via the draft, those resources should really be focused into getting veterans on this team and playmaker?
Let's talk next time about what positions the veterans would play.
Let's do that.
Yeah, let's do that next time. For me, signing off, CJ Stroud, he and his mother took to the podium here in Houston, some humanitarian philanthropic event. CJ professing his faith. He said, look, I'm willing to embrace the suffering because all of us have been let down. All of us are dealing with some forms of trauma. I paraphrase, and it's the redemption story. It's the ability to bounce back, the ability to still know who my Lord and Savior is. I share in CJ's faith and Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. So I really do cheer for CJ Stroud to have one of those comeback stories. It'll look a little different than the Sam Darnold story that we're watching right now. But wouldn't that be something if CJ Stroud got back to the mountaintop and got to new peaks? And that means the Houston Texans are having a parade playing in the last football game of the season.
I surely would. I'd love to see that. And I think for what he stands for, him and Will Anderson. Will Anderson was also at a prison a couple of weeks ago and spoke to some inmates about his faith and using his faith to get over his hard time. So I think in many ways, regardless of what maybe Jimmy Ward or Joe Mixon got going on, they got some good things going on in their franchise.
Good people.
Some very good people.
Good people. All right. That's all I got.
My party shot is I'm excited to get down here to the combine. That's it. I'm taking shots.
He's taking them. He'll be taking them at the combine, that's for sure. So John will be at the combine. We will do the show again Thursday night. We'll see what kind of intel we can get on his first day there. We'll talk it all out. We got the offensive line. A lot of offensive line discussion to still have because of the comments that Nick Caserio made as well. For John and Stan, I'm Michael. Thank you for stopping by and joining us for the Locked On Texans Squad Show.